Alrighty. So I'm just going to introduce myself. I'm Ivan, and I just stumbled upon the KogeCoin project, and I reached out to Adam to see if he wanted to do an interview and ask him some questions about himself and the project. You want to tell us about yourself, Adam?
Sure. So yeah, as you said, my name is I'm Adam Bertram. I come from tech and IT. My background, my full-time background is IT in all sorts of tech for probably 23 years now. And recently got into crypto about, I don't know, it was about a year or so ago, and started out because as we were talking before, kind of like just figuring out, the space and not knowing anything about crypto, and especially not knowing anything about decentralized finance or DeFi. And with so many different projects out there, I kind of stumbled onto KogeFarm or KogeCoin, and found the community just to be kind of different than a lot of other ones. The project seemed legit. It didn't seem scammy at all after doing some research, and especially after I get involved with the community was just really friendly and open. It wasn't, this cesspool of some of these communities that are out there. But yeah, so that's kind of the very brief background about me. I could definitely go into more detail if you like.
Yeah, because I've read some of your posts on Medium about just software, and it seems like you're pretty knowledgeable, and yeah, so that'd be fine if you want to.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I come from my background is primarily in the Microsoft space. So I came from I was an IT professional, sysadmin, developer, DevOps kind of guy in my full-time job for a long time, and I started to then transition more into content creation. So I did lots of writing. I mean, I still am a freelance writer somewhat. So I've written over probably 1,000 articles on mostly around the PowerShell scripting language. So if you're familiar with that, I've written a few books on PowerShell and scripting and automation. Some on DevOps, written lots of different articles, and I also run a blog at adamtheautomator.com. That's kind of my business. My team runs that quite a bit right now. So that's kind of gave me the time to then focus more on KogeCoin. Crypto has kind of been it's a pretty new thing for me, and I don't really know how I even started to get interested in it, to be honest with you. It's just coming from my background, it's been mostly enterprise development, operations experience, and that sort of thing. And crypto just kind of was a side thing for me for a little while. And then I finally really got into Koge, and that's when I kind of realized, well, I have a team to run my business. So I just decided to kind of jump in full time here recently and see how I could help out the project.
Right. Yeah, I saw that announcement that you were going to kind of be full time working on that KogeCoin project. Well, okay, so that's great. Here's a couple general questions. So what is the purpose and where is the value of the KogeCoin itself? Like, besides creating, yield and interest and being able to, pair with other coins and provide liquidity, is there any sort of intrinsic value?
Yeah, actually, we get this question a lot, and our docs are pretty bad at the moment. One project I'm trying to do is really get our documentation ramped up, and this is one thing that I actually just put in the docs here recently. We always get the question, is KogeCoin just a meme token? Is it just some kind of token that a bunch of people get around and all of a sudden buy a bunch up, but it really has no use whatsoever. And extremely common question. And the one thing I did put in the docs on this was the code utility. And I'm kind of looking at this now. So basically, as of right now, the KogeCoin token itself primarily has 4 different use cases. So as you mentioned, the first one, and the first one is as a staking token. So you can stake KogeCoin in one of our farms or vaults. You get KogeCoin back, so it just builds upon itself. You get more and more of the KogeCoin. And as our price hopefully increases, so will your return. So that's kind of one thing. The second one is governance. So the amount of KogeCoin that you have, you can then vote in our community DAO, our decentralized autonomous organization. I can't remember what the acronym is for, but yeah, it's a governance token. So if you have a few KogeCoin, you can then vote for any of these community projects that we have. So all of the major, the features, the way the organizations are going to go, any kind of major thing like that is always put up for a DAO vote. And if you have 10,000 KogeCoin or 50,000 or 100,000, whatever you have, that vote will count more, towards, so you can essentially influence the direction of the project depending on, what you want to do. And then the third one is dividends. So we started from the beginning of wanting to share profits or dividends with KogeCoin holders from KogeFarm. So right now we're just burning profits. KogeFarm makes us a profit based on the number of people and the amount of transactions that we do in all of our vaults. And one thing is, whenever we get all of our original KogeCoins distributed until we're completely out, we've given them all out. That'll happen around May. I believe it's going to be around May of next year. We will start then distributing profits or dividends to all of the KogeCoin holders in the form of USDC. So if the KogeFarm project is more successful and gets bigger and bigger, the KogeCoin holders will then essentially be part owners in the organization. So you will just get a share per minute, a share of the profits depending on how many KogeCoins you have. So that's a big one, big reason why a lot of people like to hold Koge and just constantly get more, because if KogeFarm project succeeds, then all the KogeCoin holders will succeed too. And then finally, recently we have we started a project with an organization called Polyroll. It's actually an online or a gambling casino on Polygon, and you can use KogeCoin as a gambling token. So you can bet KogeCoin, win KogeCoin, and that sort of thing. And we're constantly coming up with new ways to use it, because I know we're trying to get away from, well, you're just a Dogecoin knockoff. So we're constantly trying to think of more use cases and ways that we can use it. And right now we have it's probably about 4 different use cases for the coin itself.
Gotcha. And then the other day there was the Turtle Tanks NFT. If you held KogeCoin, you got on the whitelist.
Yeah, there's a bunch of little things like that, like the NFTs. What else do we have here recently? There is, I don't know, a few of those guys are doing kind of these little side projects like that, and not like that's one indication there. We're like, one of the things we always talk about in the team is like, well, how is it going to benefit KogeCoin holders? Pretty much everything that we do, we are a community-driven organization, and pretty much everything that we do is all focused on giving more value, providing more utility to KogeCoin holders through KogeFarm.
Gotcha. Okay, excellent. That explained it really well. I got this other question. Are there any long-term goals, like 5, 10 years out in the future?
We're in DeFi. Who knows what it's going to be like next month, let alone 5 years from now. But I mean, if you want to talk about the kind of the grand vision as far as I mean, we're probably not even thinking more than 6 months or something in the future, because you never know what's going to come up. But for the most part, we can probably talk about culture. So we're an organization and a community, especially we're more focused on not necessarily the devs getting rich, but everyone else getting rich or being as rich as they can, because you'll see by the fees, we charge, some of them are 0% fees, some of them are barely 1% fees. We don't charge that much at all compared to everyone else, really. I don't know if there's a single auto compounding service that charges less fees than we do, and actually auto compounds yields more frequently than we do. So right now, at this point, we're not making a lot, because essentially we're burning all the profits, and all the profits that we would make anyway, as of in around May, devs aren't going to get much. We get our vesting in KogeCoin. So essentially we don't get paid in USDC. We get paid in KogeCoin. So essentially the better that KogeFarm and KogeCoin does, the better that we do. So we don't want to we're not building KogeFarm and the KogeCoin token to just be a pump and dump. We recently pumped up to like $1.50 or something in the past few days, or it was a couple of weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, it was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and nobody on the team liked it. I mean, it kind of sounds crazy that that the team that that could benefit the most from such a price increase, but didn't like it. But I'll be honest, and nobody liked it, essentially because whenever you have a big pump like that, it's always going to dump. It's always going to be volatile, and we really,
I think it went down to 50 cents afterwards.
Yeah, it really dropped. And one thing that I really like about KogeCoin, the token itself, is that you'll see it always will drop, but it always starts to creep back up. I mean, I think today we're at 78 cents or something again.
Yeah.
So it always, we kind of want to build a culture of long-term sustainability and long-term value. Like we don't want, we don't want it to skyrocket up to $1.50 and then just dive, because that just, it's playing with people's emotions, to be honest with you.
Yes.
Yeah. One day you're like, oh my God, I'm rich. I was just telling that, I just mentioned to somebody in the chat, like I've got so many KogeCoin, I could have, cashed out and bought a small house whenever it was like way up there. But my mentality, and really with everyone else in the team, all of the big KogeCoin holders, is that, we're not out to get rich. We really want to build a sustainable, long-term way for just people to just make a nice, sustainable return over the long haul.
Right. Yes. Yeah, so since that dip, the price, it kind of stabilized, and then it was just range trading for, seemed like weeks.
Mm-hmm.
The past week and a half at least, and any little dip, it kind of lulled down, and then today it's coming back up. So
yeah, the good thing about with yield farming, especially, even when it's ranging, you tend to make money. That's a good thing about KogeFarm. Ranging is great for yield farmers, because you don't get all that impermanent loss and all the other things. So ranging is like, you've been making money when it ranges, and you can make money when it rises. It's yield farm is great for that.
A pair that came on the other day, it was USDC and UST. Mm-hmm. And when it first came on, I think it was paying 80%, and it's now dropped down to like 47%. But I mean, that's insane. You're auto compounding 2 stable coins. I think the total value locked was around $90,000. So it's a small pool, but
yeah, that's one thing that those cafe swap farms that we added were definitely like that. It was kind of rare to have that, but you'll see those come up from time to time, because especially since the whole DeFi space is so new, and a lot of these, there's so many different projects coming up, they're willing to shell out some rewards to just get more people involved on the platform. I don't know, shelling out those kind of returns, I don't know how much they're making off of that, but a lot of the times maybe these projects may have investors or something like that, and they're willing to take that short-term hit to just get some popularity and get some control. That's why in yield farming, people will say that we're farmers because we're constantly trying to find the best yield. We're just farm yield over here, farm over here, and it's it's never a solid. I'm just going to stick my money in a vault somewhere and let it go. We're normally always picking out places and finding the best yield, and we're kind of all over the place.
Rotating crops.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Depends on the season.
Exactly what it is.
Okay, so I know you guys had another audit scheduled. Is there any news that you could talk about with that audit?
Yeah, that one. Let's see. First one was Obelisk. This one is Paladin. Yeah, we've already went through the initial review. The audit has been done. The original results came back. There was nothing serious. There was some low and medium risk things that let's see. Kevin is the one that does the contract development. I believe that he had already resolved those. So we're working on a template for all future vaults, and he sent that back to them. And then now they're reviewing all of our fixes that we did, and hopefully they'll come back with a clean bill of health once they get that reviewed.
Okay, excellent. So nothing too major. That's great.
No, just kind of boring old. There were some, they found some medium and low risk things, but no, thankfully for the most part, there was nothing serious.
Right. Because that's always, the nervous part, for me is like, okay, well, what if, this smart contract has a bug in it? And
that's one thing. That's one thing Kevin, now the founder and the one that currently does all the smart contracts. We don't have an extensive automated testing. We're working on automated testing right now. He spends anywhere from 3 to 4 hours on a single vault just for testing, because we understand that there is a problem with the contract. That's on us if you lose money. And there actually been times to where I don't know if you've been around since then. There's been times to where I don't remember what the situation was. I don't know if I believe it had something to do with our fault, and we were able to pay out holders based out of our own wallets. So it was our fault. We didn't have to, obviously, because I think it was our fault, but wish I could remember the specific example. But that's an instance to where Kevin, since he felt so guilty, he's such a nice guy. He felt so guilty that, and then he actually paid out the holders that actually lost some money from a mistake that we did. So that's kind of the culture that the whole team has. We don't want to, we feel bad when some people actually, lose money in DeFi, unlike, so many of these other places. Right.
Okay. Well, that's good information to know that's, your guys' intent, and that's where you're coming from. It's funny because the term decentralized finance is like, it actually is centralized, around a group of people, who do have control, so.
Yeah, essentially, once the smart contract, the code is supposed to be trustless. The code, once the smart contract is deployed, we can't do anything about it. So that's the big thing about smart contracts and DeFi. It's supposedly, the whole mantra goes, well, smart contracts, it's all code. You don't have to trust anybody in particular. But you're right. At the end of the day, there's things in the contracts and things that we can do to where there's some things that we write in the code that we just technically cannot do anything. We technically cannot steal your money. We can't, we have nothing in those contracts that allow us to pull that out other than some kind of emergency withdrawal. Like, we have things in place that prevent us even from taking the money out. But you're right. At the end of the day, if you're going to really get into DeFi and yield farming, you can trust the code, but you're right. At some point, there is some kind of centralization. There's some kind of organization that makes decisions and things like that.
Right. And it's like, yeah, you try to give, the power to the DAO and people who hold KogeCoin the voting rights to, control the direction. But after the DAO gets the decision, it's up to them to implement the actions.
Yeah, and plus, I mean, technically, since we're the one that holds the keys, we don't have to go to the DAO for anything. We just do it. And that's when trust comes into play, because organizations can say they have a DAO. They can say, oh, we send all of the decisions and everything is community driven. But honestly, at the end of the day, the team itself can do anything they want. They can just choose to completely ignore the DAO. There's nothing technically in place that are forcing our hand at the DAO. But I think to prove that point, you need to, if you're going to truly vet a farm and a project, you need to see the changes that are being rolled out and compare those to what the DAO would say or what votes went up for the DAO. So you'll see organizations out there that say they have a DAO, but then they roll out these sweeping changes that are completely, against, what the community would think about and would like, and they didn't even go through the DAO. So that's one thing that you really need, even if a company or an organization says that we have a DAO, we let the community decide everything, to really truly evaluate the intentions of a project. I really think that you first need to see, okay, was this major change, like we just went to Moon River, for example, like we would have never done that without a DAO vote. Like these big things, like is the DAO actually doing anything, or is it just there for, smoke and mirrors?
Right. Another funny thought I had about DAOs is also just, because cryptocurrency and things like this, it's actually very political. Like you're setting up an entire system, right? You're setting up, a small economy, governance, and but is vote by the majority really the most, are the majority of people going to benefit from vote by the majority? Are the majority of people really educated to the point where they could make decisions that will benefit everybody else? It's kind of a funny concept to think of.
Yeah, we try to. That's one thing we definitely are aware of, and we try to suggest. Like there's some votes that go up that people in the community grow up that, I mean, they're not going to, we want to add a new farm or some little thing on the website, stuff like that is not going to affect the true direction. If there's something that's like a vote that's going to be the direction, like make a major change in the platform or the token, well, the team will essentially get together and create a DAO vote together, and then put in there, you'll see the latest one that I had created, to where we will say like a team approved one, like we'll tell you in the DAO vote, we'll tell you this is the one that we've vetted and the team itself believes in, that this is the one that we want to go to, but here are the other options if you disagree or want to go somewhere else. So we try to get around that to some degree. It's like, here's the recommended one that we are going to vote for. Feel free to vote for that one or not.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. Excellent. Here's a couple just general questions. What made you guys want to build on the Matic network?
It's cheap. That's the biggest reason right there, because you don't know how much gas fees that we have to pay, since we don't charge, we don't pass on that expense to the user. So, just think we auto compound every 5 minutes, and that whenever you say auto compound, there's a lot of different transactions that go in there to harvest the reward, get it out of the source farm, convert it to, send off the portion of our fees, convert it to the two assets and the farm and the underlying and the source farm, and then deposit those back in there. There's 4 or 5 different transactions that go for each time we harvest. So we harvest every 5 minutes now for nearly, it's pretty much 99% of the vaults. And then, take that every 5 minutes times, I don't know how much we have, like 140 146 vaults and climbing now, times 146 times how many people, how many LP tokens that people have that are in those vaults. So as our TVL increases, our profits increase, sure, but so does the gas. So they're all coming one-to-one. And a service like what we have now would never work. It would just not be sustainable on something like Ethereum.
Right.
So an auto compounding service like ours, they will always exist on the low fee chains like, Polygon, Moonriver coming up. Moonriver is turning out to be a little more expensive than Polygon. It may have to reduce the auto compounding frequency a little bit on that one. But yeah, for the most part, that was by far and away the most thing. And we saw that Polygon was getting some traction back in, I wasn't around then, but I believe it was, back in May. Polygon seemed to be catching on to some popularity, and we saw it, let's just see what it is, because we have the cheap gas fees. For the most part, it was the cheap gas fees.
Right. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Any new exciting pairs, yield farming pairs coming up?
You can pretty much see all of them on the DAO.
Okay.
I don't know if we ever. There's sometimes we'll add some at random. If we get some kind of if a platform, somebody approaches us and says, "Well, we have these big rewards. We're just gonna put this in." But for the most part, everything is on the DAO. So if you go to vote.KogeCoin.io, you can, if you rank them by the farm. So we try to prioritize all of the requests for farms by the amount of votes. So typically everybody's just going to say yes to a new farm, but we prioritize those by the people that the majority of the people that vote for them.
Gotcha. Okay. Is there any plans to list Koge on any other exchanges?
No, not at this time. We have talked about it. It may be in the future, but we don't have any concrete timeline on that at all.
Gotcha. Okay. Excellent. Well, I think that's pretty much all I got. Anything you'd like to add, Adam?
No, not really. I think you asked quite a bit of the good questions, and I think I was able to convey a lot about what KogeFarm and KogeCoin is about.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's been beneficial to me and anybody who watches this.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you very much for taking your time and doing this. It's always good when you see, a team member who's willing to reach out and, talk to the community and explain things, and people who have questions. Is you get on some of these, Discords or Telegrams, and you start asking questions, the hard questions, and you get booted. It's like, okay, well,
yeah, right there that if you ask, you can go in some of these and say, just yell scam. This is a terrible project, and you may get booted, but you'll see it's still a bit different. And when we come into KogeFarm, if you start yelling scam, I've seen this multiple times. I've done it myself. We're not going to boot you, but we'll first say, why are you calling it? Why are you calling it a scam? What have essentially we approach issues like that is like, okay, if this person is just blatantly, saying something negative or a scam about a project, we first want to learn, well, is there any validity to that? Like, have you seen something that made you believe that? And we'll look into it. But, thankfully, 10 times out of 10 so far, anybody that's came into the community and just said, well, what about this? Or no, this is this obvious scam. I don't trust you. It's normally just somebody who's not really doing any research, and, we'll say, well, look at the docs, look at the contracts, and get back to us if you have any, proof of your claims. But thankfully, every time so far, they've just, they just like to cause havoc, I suppose. And somebody like that will eventually boot them. But for the most part, no, we just want to kind of learn if, and have the community actually help us if we didn't find something.
Right. Tell me your reasoning behind that statement. Right. It's like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
of,
I mean,
of calling it a
yeah,
scam. It's like,
yeah,
what?
exactly. This is like, okay, why? That's the first
Right,
question. We're not going to boot you immediately. Just say, okay,
right,
why? Do you actually have a legit? Did you see? Are you a developer? Did you see something that truly thinks that we're going to be a scam? And we'll look into it every single time because that's a big problem, obviously. But yeah, 10 times out of 10 so far, have just kind of been people that come in and just yell scam for whatever reason because they're not familiar with who we are in the community and our contracts and security procedures. So thankfully.
right, right. Excellent. Well, thank you, Adam, for taking the time, and I appreciate it.
Sure.
Talk to you later.
Yep.